this morning. So, welcome to the third Mediterranean Symposium on Ecology and Conservation of Marine and Coastal Bird Species. It's my great pleasure and honor to be with you today as we gather for this important event. Organization of the first symposium held in Barcelona in 2005, and it was among the first tasks assigned to me by SPARAC. I'm truly glad to see that the interest in participating in the Bird Symposium of the Mediterranean Action Plan has grown. Indeed, the number of the participants is doubling and even tripling since the first edition of the symposium. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all our distinguished guests, speakers, partners, donors, and to all in-person participants, but also to all participants who are remotely following us. I'm honored to welcome Mrs. Laila Shekhawi Mahdawi, the Tunisian Minister of Environment. I'm pleased to welcome the Governor of Medellin, Mr. Said bin Zayed. I'm pleased also to welcome Mr. Hedi Issa, the President of our key partner, Association Les Amis des Oiseaux. I'm pleased also to welcome Mr. Stavros Antoniadis from the UNEP-MAP Coordinating Unit. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Mr. Ilyas Hamza, the new director of SPARAC. We are thrilled to have him joining SPARAC team, and we look forward to working together to achieve our goal and objective for a sustainable Mediterranean Sea. Ilyas, the floor is yours.
Excellences, Madame la Ministre de l'Environnement, Monsieur le Gouverneur de Medellin, Monsieur le Président de l'Association Les Amis des Oiseaux, Monsieur le représentant du l'UNEP-MAP, donc le programme méditerranéen, Mesdames et Messieurs les directeurs généraux, honorables invités à ce symposium, je voudrais tout d'abord remercier Madame la Ministre d'être parmi nous aujourd'hui et de nous honorer de sa présence. Et ceci témoigne de l'intérêt que vous portez, Madame la Ministre, à la préservation des écosystèmes marins et de la biodiversité. C'est avec honneur et un immense plaisir d'être avec vous aujourd'hui à Djerba pour l'ouverture de ce symposium méditerranéen sur l'écologie et la conservation des oiseaux marins et côtiers. Je voudrais aussi remercier particulièrement tous nos partenaires avec qui nous avons organisé cette troisième édition. Je cite l'Association des Amis des Oiseaux BirdLife en Tunisie, l'Union internationale pour la conservation de la nature, l'UICN, la Tour du Valar et l'Institut italien pour la protection de la recherche environnementale, l'ISPRA. Permettez-moi également de remercier tous les membres du comité scientifique dont l'expertise a été indispensable pour garantir la qualité, le niveau scientifique et la pertinence des présentations que nous aurons le plaisir de découvrir au cours de ce symposium. Je tiens aussi à exprimer notre profonde gratitude envers le ministère français de l'Europe et des Affaires étrangères pour sa contribution volontaire au financement de cet événement, jouant un rôle essentiel dans la mise en œuvre de notre programme de travail pour la protection de la biodiversité en Méditerranée. Je salue chaleureusement tous les participants venus des 26 pays présents ici, aujourd'hui, Votre présence témoigne de l'intérêt que vous portez au plan d'action pour la Méditerranée, le PAM, et plus précisément au Centre d'activité régionale pour les aires spécialement protégées, le SPARAC. En tant que composante unique du PAM sur la rive sud de la Méditerranée, le SPARAC, depuis sa création en 1985, joue un rôle central en facilitant les échanges de connaissances et d'expertise entre les pays riverains, contribuant ainsi à une Méditerranée durable. Le SPARAC soutient les parties contractantes à la Convention de Barcelone pour la mise en œuvre du protocole ASPDB. Cela se concrétise par le développement et la promotion des aires marines protégées, particulièrement les aires spécialement protégées d'intérêt pour la Méditerranée, les ASPIM, et la mise en place de programmes pour la conservation de la biodiversité. Dans ce contexte, 10 plans d'action régionaux, dont un spécifique à la conservation des espèces d'oiseaux, inscrites dans l'annexe 2 du protocole ASBDB, ont été adoptés. Ce plan d'action est évalué et mis à jour tous les 4 ans et son objectif est de préserver et restaurer les populations d'oiseaux tout en veillant à leur conservation à long terme. C'est dans cette perspective que cette 3e édition du Symposium se place, cherchant d'abord à faciliter la mise en œuvre des mesures adoptées par les parties contractantes pour la conservation des oiseaux marins et côtiers, aussi à contribuer à l'élaboration de politiques environnementales basées sur les données scientifiques les plus récentes, et enfin à identifier les axes de recherche essentiels pour la conservation des oiseaux, ouvrant la voie à des études futures et améliorant notre compréhension de leur écologie. Votre participation aujourd'hui, qui sera certainement active aux discussions et aux débats qui auront lieu au cours de ce symposium, contribuera sans aucun doute à restaurer, à préserver la richesse écologique de la Méditerranée. Excellences, Monsieur le Gouverneur, Mesdames et Messieurs, je vous remercie de votre présence et de votre attention et je vous souhaite à tous un symposium fructueux et enrichissant. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Silies. So I give the floor now to Mr. Stavros.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Madame la Ministre, distinguished guests, partners and colleagues. I am very honored to be part of the third Mediterranean Symposium on Ecology and Conservation of Marine and Coastal Bird Species in this beautiful city of Djerba. I'm here as representative of UNEP MAP, United Nations Environment Programme Mediterranean Action Plan, and I wish first to express apologies from the coordinator, Ms. Tatiana Hema, for not being able to attend herself due to other commitments, and extend her wishes for a successful symposium. For those who don't know, UNEP MAP is the first regional action plan that was established under the UNEP Regional Seas Programme almost 50 years ago, in 1975, and was succeeded by the adoption of the Barcelona Convention the year after, 76. The 21 Mediterranean countries and the European Union, which are contracting parties to the Barcelona Convention, have taken in this framework important obligations and targets to fulfill the vision of a healthy Mediterranean sea and coast that underpins sustainable development in the region. The Barcelona Convention is complemented by 7 protocols touching upon the main aspects of marine and coastal environment, including specially protected areas and biodiversity, pollution from land-based sources, dumping, offshore activities, hazardous waste, prevention and emergency, and integrated coastal zone management. The institutional framework of UNEP MAP consists of the coordinating unit and MEDPOL on pollution, which are based in Athens, Greece, and regional activity centers, which are established in different Mediterranean countries and have a more thematic focus. One of the oldest and most important RACs is the SPARAC, Specially Protected Areas Regional Activity Center, which is based in Tunis, and it is entrusted with the mandate to support the contracting parties of the Barcelona Convention in the implementation of the SPA Biodiversity Protocol and of important strategies and action plans that have been adopted by the contracting parties in its context. I would like to specifically mention the post-2020 sub-bio, the Strategic Action Program on Biodiversity that was adopted in COP22 in Antalya, Turkey, and the Regional Strategy on Marine and Coastal Protected Areas, and OECMs, that they are both provide an ambitious and comprehensive strategic framework for biodiversity conservation in the Mediterranean and have important targets to be achieved by 2030. Under the lead of SPARAC, a number of action plans for key species and habitats have been developed and adopted by the contracting parties. Very relevant to this meeting today is the updated action plan for the conservation of marine and coastal bird species listed in Annex 2 of SPABID protocol that was adopted by the last COP23 in Portorož, Slovenia in December 2023. In my view, the present symposium is an excellent opportunity to share and advance our knowledge on Mediterranean marine and coastal birds, and in this way support the implementation of the action plan and the protocol itself. As the contracting parties stressed in their ministerial declaration in COP23, it is now time to move from decision to action. This biennium 24-25, which is marking the 50 years anniversary of UNEP-MAP and the 40 years anniversary of SPARAC, is an excellent moment to further enhance our joint efforts for biodiversity conservation in the Mediterranean. Before closing, I would like to express our gratitude as UNEP-MAP to the government of France, which has provided an important contribution for the implementation of activities of the MAP programs of work through bilateral agreements with UNEP that were signed in 2022 and 2023, including the organization of this important symposium. I wish to thank the government of Tunisia for warmly hosting us in Djerba, SPARAC team for the excellent organization of the symposium, and all the participants for their contribution and submission of abstracts. Let me wish you a successful symposium. Thank you.
Thank you, Stavros, for being with us on behalf of Mr. Tatiana, the coordinator of UNEP-MAP. Now I invite Mr. Hedi Issa, the president of the Association Les Amis d'Oiseaux, to give his opening speech, which will be in Arabic, so please follow the translation in the screen.
بسم الله والحمد لله. السيدات والسادة الزملاء والأصدقاء الأفاضل، سعداء نحن أحباء الطيور بالحضور بينكم، نساهم معكم للمرة الثالثة اليوم وهنا في مؤتمرنا المتوسطي الثالث. ويشرفنا في هذا المؤتمر بالذات أن نكون شركاء في التنظيم تصوراً وتحضيراً وإنجازاً، اليد في اليد مع زملائنا إطارات مركز الأنشطة الإقليمية للمناطق المتمتعة بحماية خاصة سباراك، ولنا معهم تقاليد راسخة وتجارب مثمرة في التعاون وفي العمل المشترك في العديد من المشاريع والبرامج. اليوم في هذه الآونة بالذات تمنحني هذه الشراكة شرف مخاطبتكم نيابة عن إطارات ومناضلي جمعية أحباء الطيور، لأثمن جهود فريق العمل الساهرين على استضافتنا وإفادتنا في هذا الملتقى، ولأرحب بكم جميعا، وأخص بالترحاب ضيوف تونس الحاضرين معنا، وأجزل الشكر لداعمي وممولي هذا المؤتمر. ويشرفني ويسعدني بصفة خاصة أن أرفع تحية تقدير وامتنان إلى رعاة هذه الجلسة الافتتاحية، إلى السيدة ليلى الشيخاوي الهداوي وزيرة البيئة وأعضادها ومرافقيها الميامين، إلى السيد الوزير محمود إلياس حمزة مدير سباراك، إلى السيد الوالي المحترم ممثل رئيس الجمهورية بجهة مدنين وإلى السيد ممثل ليونات ماب. السيدة الوزيرة، السيدات والسادة الحضور، إن المباحث التي سيشتغل عليها مؤتمرنا هذا تتنزل في صميم اهتمامات جمعية أحباء الطيور، وتجد لها صدى في الأهداف التي التزمت بها الأجيال المتعاقبة من أبناء الجمعية في بحوثهم العلمية وفي متابعاتهم الميدانية، بغية المحافظة على الطيور البرية العابرة منها والقارة وصيانة مواطنها كما ورد في تأشيرة الجمعية منذ حوالي 50 سنة، وهو ما أكسب جمعيتنا شرعية تاريخية وأهلها للظفر بثقة شركائها داخل تونس وخارجها، ومكنها من الإلمام الميداني والصرامة المنهجية. وما تزال جمعية أحباء الطيور هي المعنية بعالم الطيور البرية الأولى والأولى في تونس. حظنا في ذلك ورأس مالنا موقع بلادنا المتميز في حوض المتوسط وتنوع منظوماتنا البيئية، واستقطاب تونس واحدا من أهم مسارات هجرة الطيور بين أوروبا وأفريقيا. السيدة الوزيرة، حضرات السيدات والسادة، كنا في جزيرة جربة منذ بضعة أيام في الأسبوع الأخير من جانفي. توجنا هنا في جربة مسيرة البرنامج العالمي لتعداد الطيور المائية الذي ننجزه سنوياً على امتداد شهر جانفي بأكمله، وتتولى جمعية أحباء الطيور تنسيقه والإشراف عليه ميدانياً. أنجزناه بالتعاون والشراكة مع سباراك ولاتور دو فالا. هنا في جربة نختتم كل سنة تربصنا الإقليمي الذي ينتظم سنوياً في الأيام العشرة الأخيرة من شهر جانفي لتكوين المتطوعين ميدانياً ثم نظرياً في مجالات مراقبة الطيور المائية وإحصائها وتحديد أنواعها، ولا سيما منها الطيور البحرية والشاطئية التي هي محور اهتمامنا في هذا الملتقى. ولم تبخل علينا جزيرة جربة هذه السنة كعادتها بالمفاجآت السارة. أحصينا فيها 28,000 طائر، تعرفنا على 45 نوعاً من الطيور المائية، وقرأنا في جربة وحدها 42 خلخال باج من مجموع 152 خلخالاً سجلناها هذه السنة. ومن بين 25 نوعاً من الطيور المشمولة بخطة عمل برشلونة، لاحظنا وجود 12 نوعاً من الطيور في جربة بين مشتية وعابرة ومقيمة. السيدة الوزيرة، السادة الحضور، السيد الوالي، هذا قليل من كثير مما يمكن أن يقال عن الطيور في جربة. أذكر به حتى نبارك ونعتز بارتقاء جزيرة جربة إلى مرتبة التراث العالمي لليونسكو بمعالمها ومواقعها المتميزة، دون أن ننسى ثالوث رمسار في جربة. رمسار جربة بين الوديان، رمسار جربة قلالة كما ينطقها أهلها، رمسار جربة راس الرمل. إنها فعلا جزيرة الأحلام، درة من درر المتوسط، وهي أيضا وحتى لا ننسى جنة من جنان الطيور ومعقل من معاقل التنوع البيولوجي، وفي ذلك حسب اعتقادنا مجالات كثيرة ومتنوعة للتثمين والاستثمار بيئيا وثقافيا وسياحيا. السيدة الوزيرة، تسجل جمعية أحباء الطيور بارتياح ميلاد القائمة الحمراء التونسية بتنسيق ناجع وحرص من وزارتك وزارة البيئة، ونتعهد من جانبنا نحن أحباء الطيور بمواصلة الانخراط في هذا المشروع والمساهمة على عادتنا في تطويره وتوسيعه إلى أنواع أخرى نباتية وحيوانية، كما أننا على صعيد آخر نظل ملتزمين بالمساهمة والتعهد بالبرامج والمشاريع التي تتنزل في سياق المشاغل البيئية المتوسطية، على غرار ما نحن بصدده في هذا المؤتمر. أرجو لمؤتمرنا تحقيق ما نصب إليه من فائدة بتبادل الخبرات والتجارب، والله ولي التوفيق.
شكرا سيدي. Thank you. Thank you. So I invite now the Governor of Medellin, Mr. Said bin Zayed, to give us his welcoming speech.
أسعد الله مساءكم بكل خير. بما أنني لم أحضر كلمة رسمية لهذا الملتقى، سأرتجل كلمتي باللغة العربية، وهذا لن يمنعني أني أقدم صياغة الترحيب باللغة الإنجليزية لكل ضيوف جزيرة الأحلام جربة ولي ولاية مدنين أيضا. So, welcome to everyone of the institutes, all the associations, and in head, Madam the Minister, Mr. President Lies Hamza, Mr. President of the Association of les Oiseaux de la Tunisie, to all the visitors and associated in this meeting. كما أسلفت، بما أن الكلمة مرتجلة فهي فقط ستقتصر على حدث بسيط يختزل كل العمل في تحضيرنا لأعمال القمة الفرنكوفونية في ولاية مدنين، وبحضور السيدة رئيس الحكومة نجلاء بودن وبحضورها شخصيا. كنا في أعمال مراقبة المسرح، مسرح الهواء الطلق الذي سيحتضن فعاليات الدورة 18 للقمة الفرنكوفونية بجزيرة جربة. وكانت في التاريخ تقريبا يوم 14 أو 15 نوفمبر، على بعد أسبوع من انعقاد القمة. كانت السيدة رئيس الحكومة تراقب المنشأة وطريقة القيام بالأعمال في حماية سقف مسرح الهواء الطلق، وكانت الطيور المهاجرة تمر فوق سقف المسرح. وظنت السيدة رئيس الحكومة وظننا جميعا أنها كانت عرض تم استحداثه إلكترونيا للإبهار، ثم تفطنا جميعا وبحضور السيدة رئيس الحكومة أن الطيور كانت تشاركنا فرحتنا بانعقاد القمة والتحضير لها. ولم تتوقف طيور جربة عن احتفالها وعن فرحها بجزيرة جربة. كل ضيوف جربة يلاحظون يوميا في مرورهم بالطريق السياحية كيف يكون ترحيب الطيور المهاجرة والقارة في جزيرة جربة بكل ضيوف جزيرة جربة. لذلك أنا لن أتخلف وأقف مع طيور جربة في الترحيب بكم في أعمال مؤتمركم هذا، متمنيا لكم كل التوفيق وكل النجاح. شكرا وبارك الله فيكم.
شكرا سيد. So now I pass the floor to the Honorable Minister of Environment, Mrs. Laila Shikhawi. The floor is yours.
شكرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سيد الوالي سي سعيد بن زايد، سي محمود الياس حمزة، سي هادي عيسى، Monsieur Stavros Antoniadis, Mesdames et Messieurs, représentants des autorités régionales et locales, des structures gouvernementales et non gouvernementales et des organisations internationales installées en Tunisie. Chers experts, chercheurs de 26 pays, j'ai entendu, du bassin méditerranéen. Mesdames et messieurs, honorables invités, soyez toutes et tous les bienvenus sur cette belle île de Djerba. Je suis très heureuse d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui, ici à Djerba, pour inaugurer ce 3e symposium méditerranéen sur l'écologie et la conservation des oiseaux d'eau, marins et côtiers. Et d'être ici également, presque 2 ans après la tenue du sommet de la francophonie que la Tunisie et Djerba plus particulièrement a abrité fin 2022. C'était un grand moment. Monsieur le gouverneur, vous étiez là. Monsieur Liès aussi. Nous étions donc un grand moment. Et ce dynamisme continue avec l'accueil d'autres événements d'importance comme le vôtre aujourd'hui, le 3e. Apparemment, c'était en 2005 que le premier a eu lieu. Donc, je note qu'il s'agit quand même de quelque chose d'important. 3e symposium. Et nous avons la chance de l'abriter ici à Djerba. Bien entendu, je remercie l'excellente coordination et la collaboration avec l'Association des Amis des Oiseaux et je salue bien sûr les efforts du Centre régional pour les aires spécialement protégées de Méditerranée et nos différents partenaires concernant toutes les activités programmées et engagées en faveur de la préservation et de la protection de la biodiversité en Méditerranée, cette mer qui nous lie et nous relie, dans le cadre des orientations et objectifs des stratégies nationales et du cadre mondial pour la biodiversité. Je tiens à saluer la décision judicieuse du Centre d'activité régionale pour les aires spécialement protégées de Méditerranée d'avoir choisi d'organiser cet événement à Djerba, berceau de civilisation, terre de paix et de tolérance et de cohabitation entre les religions, qui offre un cadre idéal pour cette rencontre scientifique. Car, outre son héritage culturel, l'île de Djerba est aussi très riche en biodiversité et en spécificités naturelles. Ses écosystèmes variés, allant des plages de sable fin aux zones humides, abritent une grande diversité d'espèces, de faune et de flore remarquables. Cette originalité et cette spécificité ont permis le classement de cette belle île, d'un certain nombre de sites sur cette île au patrimoine mondial de l'UNESCO, outre le classement de divers sites Ramsar. Je souhaite souligner l'importance de la thématique qui est abordée ici aujourd'hui, la conservation des espèces d'oiseaux marins et côtiers. Ces créatures représentent non seulement un élément de la biodiversité nationale et méditerranéenne, mais aussi ce sont des indicateurs de la bonne santé des écosystèmes marins et des zones humides et terrestres, et je salue les chiffres que je viens d'entendre de la part de Silhedi. Leur préservation revêt donc une importance vitale pour maintenir le fragile équilibre de l'environnement côtier et marin, et aussi pour assurer la durabilité des ressources naturelles. Cet aspect de préservation et de conservation est abordé aussi bien par nos politiques nationales depuis longtemps, mais aussi par les instruments internationaux, comme le cadre mondial de la biodiversité, le protocole relatif aux aires spécialement protégées de la Convention de Barcelone, dont nous allons fêter bientôt, je crois, le cinquantenaire, si j'ai bien écouté, la Convention de Bonn sur la conservation des espèces migratrices de faune sauvage, la Convention sur le commerce international d'espèces de faune et de flore sauvages menacées d'extinction, ou encore la Convention relative aux zones humides d'importance internationale, particulièrement comme habitat des oiseaux d'eau. Je ne vais pas en citer plus, il y en aurait plus de 250. Donc, nous n'aurions pas fini. Mesdames et messieurs, depuis les années 2000, la conservation de la nature, de ses fonctions et services écosystémiques est une préoccupation sécuritaire planétaire majeure. Les atteintes et les menaces à l'environnement présentent des risques aujourd'hui parfois irréversibles et dévastateurs, notamment induits par les changements climatiques, le déclin de la biodiversité, la récurrence très fréquente des catastrophes naturelles, la rareté des ressources telles que l'eau, la pollution, la propagation d'agents pathogènes, voire l'apparition des pandémies telles que celle de la Covid dont nous avons ressenti les effets partout dans le monde. Les oiseaux, en tant qu'éléments de notre biodiversité, sont particulièrement vulnérables et leur conservation exige une surveillance attentive et une identification conforme à l'article 7 de la Convention sur la diversité biologique, car il est essentiel de disposer d'une connaissance approfondie de ces espèces, de l'état de leur population et des tendances spatio-temporelles. Et bien entendu, je salue l'engagement de l'association Les Amis des Oiseaux à cet égard depuis de très longues années. Dans un contexte environnemental international marqué par l'accentuation du rythme de l'extinction des espèces, la liste rouge des espèces menacées de l'Union internationale pour la conservation de la nature demeure un référentiel mondial et un repère pour la conservation de la nature adopté par un nombre croissant de pays et de régions qui permettent d'identifier les priorités de conservation et de fournir une base cohérente pour orienter les politiques et les stratégies opérationnelles. Conscient de ce défi, la Tunisie, consciente de ce défi, à travers le ministère de l'Environnement, a entamé depuis 2019, en collaboration avec UICN-MED et d'autres partenaires, un processus national visant à élaborer une liste rouge nationale des espèces d'oiseaux menacés qui a mis en lumière l'urgence de la situation de l'avifaune dans notre pays. En effet, plusieurs espèces connaissent un déclin progressif et sur les 180 espèces d'oiseaux nicheurs évaluées, 62 sont menacées de disparition, vous me corrigerez, Monsieur Hedi, 13 en danger critique, comme le puffin yelkouan et le cormoran huppé, qui sont aussi classés dans l'annexe 2 du protocole sur les aires spécialement protégées et la diversité biologique en Méditerranée. Cette observation établie à l'échelle nationale est aussi valable pour l'ensemble de la région méditerranéenne. Et les principales menaces qui pèsent sur ces espèces sont souvent liées aux activités humaines, comme l'expansion des terres agricoles, la déforestation, la surexploitation des ressources, l'urbanisation, la pollution atmosphérique et aquatique et les perturbations causées par les activités industrielles ou encore le braconnage. Pour prévenir le déclin et l'extinction des oiseaux, ces pollinisateurs aux innombrables bienfaits pour l'environnement, il est impératif de déployer des mesures de conservation conformes au plan d'action et aux stratégies nationales en vigueur. C'est dans ce cadre que s'inscrit le présent symposium méditerranéen sur l'écologie et la conservation des oiseaux marins et côtiers, qui a vocation à se dérouler pendant 3 jours et qui vise à renforcer la conservation et la gestion durable des populations d'oiseaux marins autour de la région méditerranéenne. Je souhaite aussi profiter de cette occasion pour rappeler l'engagement du ministère de l'Environnement et de l'ensemble du gouvernement à appliquer la stratégie nationale de transition écologique à l'horizon 23, 35, 50, adoptée en 2023, qui comprend 5 axes déclinés en 53 mesures, parmi lesquelles l'axe 3, consacré à la gestion rationnelle des ressources naturelles et à la préservation et la restauration des écosystèmes tant terrestres que marins, qui inclut la mesure numéro 24, relative à la mise en œuvre de la stratégie nationale et du plan d'action de protection de la diversité biologique 2018-2030, aligné sur le plan stratégique 2011-2020 de la Convention des Nations Unies sur la biodiversité et dont l'élaboration avait associé tous les acteurs de tous les secteurs autour de la vision d'une biodiversité nationale résiliente au changement climatique, à l'abri des menaces, conservée et gérée de manière à contribuer durablement au développement socio-économique du pays. Pour finir, je rappelle mes souhaits de bienvenue à tous les participants et invités de la Tunisie, auxquels je souhaite un travail fructueux et un excellent séjour à Djerba, et je suis sûre que ces 3 jours seront marqués par des échanges enrichissants et des débats constructifs. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Laila Shekhawi, the Minister of Environment. So, dear participant, just allow me to announce that we will move a little bit the group photo after the first key note speaker. So now I invite the president of the first session, Mr. Abdul Mullah Hamza, who will share the first session, Monitoring and Assessment of Marine and Coastal Birds across the Mediterranean.
Thank you, Lubna. Good afternoon. Welcome to the third Mediterranean Symposium on Seabirds, Coastal and Seabirds. And this is our first keynote speak. And the first keynote speak will be Ben Metzinger, scientist originally from Germany, but he have a very good Mediterranean experience since he worked many years in Malta, studying seabirds in the Maltese waters. But today he will share with us the outputs of assessing seabird population across the Mediterranean through SPARAC Mid-QSR 23 chapter on marine birds. So this is a chapter on marine birds within the Mid-QSR big report, which is telling us the status of environment in the Mediterranean. This is a big project coordinated by RACSPA during the last 3 years, and Ben will share with us the outputs related to seabirds and coastal birds. So Ben, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thanks for inviting us to the organizers to speak about Mediterranean coastal birds and their conservation. Okay. Next slide. So the title of my presentation is Assessing the Seabird Populations Across the Mediterranean, and the subtitle would be the work that we did with SPARAC, the 2023 Mediterranean Quality Status Report chapter on marine birds. I have done this work together, so I've done this work not alone, but together with Dilek Sain, who can't be here, unfortunately. Yes, thank you. Okay. So this work was done together with Dilek Sain and also with the SPARAC team, Yasin, Lobna, and Samar. So just to come to the background and aim of that work, seabird taxa in the Mediterranean Sea show a high rate of endemism, either on species or on subspecies level. They occupy a variety of niches, and thus they form part of various functional ecological groups. And because they do so, they can act as perfect sentinels, basically as indicator species for the health of different parts of the marine ecosystem. And several of these species are also listed under local, regional, or international conservation agreements, and that is pointing towards their unfavorable conservation status. Now, Now, what has been done before? So, following the adaptation of the ecosystem approach roadmap by the contracting parties to the Barcelona Convention, a first Mediterranean Quality Status Report was released in 2017, and that provided a regional assessment of the bird species as well. And so this report back then used available national data sets to assess the regional status and presented the gaps and provided recommendations on how to close these gaps. Then recently, SPARAC carried out a second exercise, the second round of this most overarching assessment in the region. And the Ecosystem Approach Group under the Barcelona Convention created the 2023 Mediterranean Quality Status Report following the ecosystem approach. And this presents the assessment of the state of the natural marine environment in the region and whether good environmental status is reached. The overarching aim of this 2023 MED-QSR report was to have a fully data-based, fully quantitative analysis and to have an integrated quality status report of the status of the seabirds in the wider sense in the region. Now, briefly to basically remember what the ecosystem approach says. The ecosystem approach is a strategy for the integrated management of land, water, and living resources that promotes conservation and sustainable use in an equitable way. However, regular monitoring and assessment are a very important part of ECAP, mainly to inform on the status of the marine environment and also of the success of any conservation activities that we can carry out. Within the assessment elements of ECAP, the region's seabirds form part of the ecological objective EO1, biodiversity. And then again, within this ecological objective, there are three common indicators that are relevant for our seabirds, and that is the common indicator 3, the species distributional range, common indicator 4, the species population abundance, and the common indicator 5, demographic characteristics. So that is mainly survival rates and reproductive success rates. For each of these common indicators, for this report to be successful, it was important to first define the assessment criteria, the scales of the monitoring and of the assessment, but then also the baseline and the threshold values. And the vision was, as I mentioned, to have a quantitative and integrative approach to be able to say whether good environmental status is reached for seabirds in the region. This table quickly summarizes as an example for the common indicator 4, the species population abundance, how good environmental status is defined, how the targets are set, and also how baseline and threshold values can be identified, and what scales of assessment and of monitoring could be utilized. Then we needed to select some indicator species out of the list of the Annex 2 SPABD protocol of the Barcelona Convention. We identified 11 indicator species from overall 6 functional ecological groups. This selection was then supported also by the online working group on birds. The selection criteria we chose were that they had to be marine species, at least in the wider sense, that are basically show a wide distribution across the region, that there are species that are actually suitable, that they are common enough in the region or widely distributed enough in the region to be suitable for a good environmental status assessment. Then also species that are of major conservation concerns were important to be included in this list, and species that represent the various functional groups that we were selecting well. These are the 11 species that we chose for this exercise. So as a coastal top predator, we chose the osprey, which is in general not a threatened species, but the population that inhabits the Mediterranean Sea is listed as endangered by the IUCN, at least the breeding population. As an intertidal benthic feeder, we chose the Kentish plover, again a species that has shown significant basically a decline in its population in the region, and I hope that especially here now in this session later on the third day about the coastal birds, that we will learn more about that species and how we can assess and protect it better. As an inshore benthic feeder, it's the Mediterranean subspecies of the European shag. As the offshore surface feeder, the Ordwin's gull, and also here we have a special session dedicated later on just for this species and the International Single Species Action Plan that is currently underway. Then as the inshore surface feeders, we selected the slender-billed gull, the lesser crested tern that has especially importance for Libya as a, basically umbrella species, and also the sandwich tern. As the offshore surface and pelagic feeders, we chose all the 4 tube-nosed species that are widely distributed or more or less widely distributed in the area: the Mediterranean storm petrel, the Scopolis shearwater, the Yalquan shearwater, and the Balearic shearwater. The sources that we analyzed for our assessment were monitoring data sets that were provided to us by the contracting parties' focal points, and sometimes also we received completed assessments by the focal points, by the contracting parties' focal points. And additional data sources that we utilized were the Wetlands International's waterbird counts, mainly the midwinter waterbird counts with a buffer around the Mediterranean Sea. Then also from BirdLife International and their seabird tracking database, we received many data sets that show tracked seabirds, and we could analyze those to show a little bit the distribution offshore. And also we had to rely on some data that were provided to us by local or regional experts on species, as well as published reports. So then we assessed good environmental status separately for each common indicator, also for each of the 11 indicator species, and for each of the contracting party. And the idea was in the second step to integrate these separate assessments into one larger assessment of good environmental species, good environmental status. And in addition to the GES assessment, we carried out a DPSIR analysis to mainly to identify the major drivers and how they act as pressures on seabirds in the region. So the aim was to present the good environmental status assessment integrated spatially within subregions and then also across the entire region, and also integrated within and between the common indicators, and integrated across indicator species, at least within the functional ecological groups, just to be able to reach an overarching conclusion of the state or status of the seabirds under EO1. However, unfortunately, some gaps in the comparable monitoring data sets, but also the lack sometimes of either historic data or of even modern baseline data that could act as baselines, overall did not allow a quantitative and completely integrated good environmental status assessment across the entire region. Here I present as an example how this GES assessment looks like. So from left to right there is the different species, and from top to bottom the different contracting parties, basically grouped by sub-regions. And as you can see, so we used a very simplified traffic light system to assess good environmental status, or to show the assessed good environmental status. As you can see, for some of the countries, for some of the contracting parties, some of the species, good environmental status is reached, so that is shown in green, while for some it is like intermediate, and for some the species still seem to fail good environmental status. But what is even more noticeable, and that is shown here in gray, is that we unfortunately still have insufficient data to do this exercise across all the species and all the contracting parties. So now briefly towards the drivers and pressures as part of the DPSIR analysis. I mean, you have seen probably such images or similar from everywhere around the Mediterranean. So there are certainly strong drivers of anthropogenic activities that act on seabirds in the region. And so here we put the drivers, the most important drivers, just next to the pressures they induce. Of course, it is mainly the increase in human population or activities in the region, human demands, urbanization, we've heard that also earlier, that directly lead to habitat loss and increase in disturbance to our seabirds. Fisheries is a big issue, especially also in the offshore areas. And changes in fishing activities, changing in fleet sizes, in target species, in gear being used, certainly has implications as incidental bycatch, but also when it comes to overfishing and also ghost fishing gear that is left behind. Then an increase in transport, like no matter if it's humans or if it's livestock or goods or also ballast water, helps to spread alien invasive species, for instance, but also can create direct disturbance and noise and light pollution, things like that, that are harmful for our seabirds. Then in general, how we deal with our waste, landfills, but also how more and more plastic, organopollutants and so on pollute the Mediterranean Sea, has direct implications to our seabirds. And in overall, I think an assessment that was published only last year showed that the Mediterranean seabirds are among the most exposed birds when it comes to marine plastics. What this exercise so far hasn't revealed enough is that there are actually quite a few potential links between EO1 and other ecological objectives that are probably worth it to explore more in the future and for the next assessment. And this is, for instance, the link to invasive alien species. That would be the ecological objective 2, non-indigenous species, but also, for example, Many, especially burrow nesting nocturnal seabirds, are highly impacted by light pollution. So far, the incurrence of energy into the ecosystem under EO11 only targets cetaceans and mainly noise pollution, but that would be very interesting to explore possibilities to link that also to demographic issues for our seabirds. As a conclusion, I can say that seabird monitoring and assessment has certainly come a very long way since the last Mediterranean status report. Unfortunately, we have still a lack of baselines and a lack of gaps and some gaps in the data set that currently prevent a fully quantitative and integrated good environmental status assessment of seabirds across the entire region. And overall, we have to work together to harmonize monitoring programs and to further implement conservation actions within the Mediterranean, within the Marine Protected Area Network. And this is a very important step if we want to successfully assess but also reach good environmental status targets across the Mediterranean in the future. So therefore, as an outlook, let's work all together to improve the availability and also the comparability of monitoring data sets for future assessments. So this can't be stressed hard enough that we have to put our efforts together to make data more comparable and more available. Also to create links that integrate the different ecological objectives in our monitoring, I was mentioning that. To make sure that the next Mediterranean Quality Status Report will be truly fully integrated and truly quantitative as a good environmental status assessment across the entire Mediterranean region. And let's work to strengthen the Marine Protected Area Network for Mediterranean seabirds to make sure that more seabirds will reach good environmental status with the next assessment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben, for this very good presentation. IMAP and good environmental status actually is a learning process. So we started this first report in 2017. Everybody said it's not enough. We have to do it again. So I think every round of this, if this work, making the data much better and much representative for all the countries. So this is a good step on the way to understand the real status of seabirds and coastal birds in the Mediterranean. And we hope to build on this in the future phases. So I will ask the panel if you have, ladies and gentlemen, any comments to pose after this. And if there is no, we will go to the group photo. I don't know, Your Excellency, Minister, do you want to comment on this? Just a short...
Thank you for giving me the floor. Of course, it's very interesting to listen to the results of science and research. C'est toujours un moment très important lorsque la science rencontre les activités humaines et les effets des changements climatiques et de nos activités sur des éléments aussi fragiles que ces créatures qui constituent notre biodiversité, surtout au niveau de la Méditerranée. La Méditerranée que nous partageons, cette mer semi-fermée qui a fait l'objet du premier programme du plan d'action pour la Méditerranée suite à la conférence de Stockholm en 1972 et est un lieu particulièrement vulnérable, particulièrement fragile, qui a connu cette année, en 2023, les hausses de température les plus élevées depuis un siècle, faisant dire au secrétaire général de l'Organisation des Nations Unies que nous étions déjà au stade de l'ébullition. et qu'il était aujourd'hui temps d'agir. Par conséquent, ce que je souhaite dire, évidemment, je vous remercie pour cette présentation et surtout ce que nous aimerions partager avec vous, ce sont les recommandations que vous allez nous faire à l'issue de vos travaux et que nous espérons, nous, en tant que prise de décision, pouvoir traduire dans la réalité et dans la pratique. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Madam Minister. And just to compliment on Her Excellency the Minister, it is a semi-enclosed sea. It's a fragile sea, but the birds in this sea and the people in this sea are very resilient, and they passed many, many dilemmas before, and so that we have the hope that things are getting in the right direction for the integrative conservation of Mediterranean Sea. So we will have more time for discussion because all of the first session will talk about this mid-QSR activities done by different countries. So we will have more chance to listen from Ben, comments or answers of any questions after this short break, where we will invite all of you, please, to go to outside for a group photo. So, Your Excellency, please, we will follow you. Thank you. We will convene in, just after the photo. So we will take 10 minutes and then we'll come back again here. اسكندر نجم كلمهم يدخلوا يدخلوا Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the second part of the first session of the third symposium on coastal and seabirds in the Mediterranean. We will start our journey in this status of seabirds around the Mediterranean, all the way from Turkey. So I'd like happily to invite our colleague Luke Ortak Omnus to give us a presentation. Oh, he's here already. On Odwin's and storm petrels status in Turkish waters. Ortak, please.
Et bonjour à tout le monde et hello to everybody. It's a nice opportunity for me to be here, to be with you, to see all my old friends and to meet with new friends. I would like to thank all the organizers, first of all, who provided us such an excellent opportunity. Therefore, I greatly acknowledge them. I greatly thank them. Okay, let's get started. First of all, I would like to give you a basic introduction about my speech. Then I'm going to go in details. Oops. Yep. Okay, I apologize. What's happening? Can I go back? Can you help me to go back? It's not going back. Okay. I apologize for the small interruption. Okay. First of all, before starting to talk about audience goal and storm petrels in Turkey, I would like to give a basic introduction about the geographical properties of Turkey. I find it very crucial to understand the geography of Turkey. Then I will talk about audience goal. Then I'll give some time for storm petrels. Then I will follow by giving some basic and important introduction and information about fishery statistics, and I will follow by threats. Then I'll try to summarize what we need. Okay. You see a map of Turkey, and if you make a measurement from the western end to the eastern end, that we see that the distance is about 1,500 kilometers. And if we make the same calculation from south to north, we end up with about 700 kilometers. It's a relatively big country. But when we look at the seas, and we see Mediterranean, also part of the Mediterranean, after the Greek trench, we call that part of Mediterranean as an Aegean Sea. Then we have Marmara Sea located between the two Bosphorus region. Then we know the Black Sea. Then if you look at the distance of Mediterranean coast of Turkey, it's about 1,600 kilometers. Although it looks much smaller, the Aegean coast is the longest coast, and it's about 3,000 kilometers. Then if we look at the coastline of Black Sea, it's about 1,800 kilometers, and if we include the Marmara Sea region, it's about 1,000 kilometers. So if you pay attention, the distance of the country is not representing the length of the coast. And this is the biggest problem that we have in Turkey. If we make a basic mathematical calculation, we end up with 7,000 kilometers of coastline in Turkey, which is almost 150% bigger than the entire North African coast. So it makes it very difficult to do some survey at the sea and makes our job very difficult. Okay, let's give me opportunity to talk about some big group of islands. This group of islands located in the Marmara Sea, and if you pay attention, this distance is about 15 kilometers. We have huge islands, a group of islands located in the Marmara Sea. I'm sorry, yeah. And the previous one was in Ayvalık regions. If you follow my friend's presentation, you can find more details about Ayvalık Islands. Then we have a group of islands located in the western coast of Izmir called Çeşme Islands. And then Bodrum Islands, we have two mini islands and groups of islands. Let me change my place. And we have a Dacia Peninsula, which is about 100 kilometers in size, long peninsula. We have several islands and many islands around them. Then we have Fethi Islands, then located in the south of Turkey, Akash and Kekova Islands. And then let's start by talking about, can we please go back to a previous slide because it's not working. Okay. Let's talk about now about the audience goal. The first breeding information of audience goal in Turkey actually dates back to 1970s. And currently they are breeding in identical islets, about 30 breeding pairs. And then it's responding a little bit late. Palamutbükü Islands, 20 to 30 pairs again. And then Bodrum Islets, 2 to 10 pairs. Then we have Gülük Islets, 3 to 5 pairs. Then Büyükada in western coast of Turkey in Karaburun Peninsula, 2 to 23 pairs. We have the northernmost breeding population located in the Aegean Sea. It's something not working very well. And we have 3 to 5 pairs breeding in Dilek Peninsula Islands. And then we have another breeding population located in the northernmost location of Turkey, Gökçeada Islands, 30 to 35 pairs. So if you pay attention, they are breeding very wide range of coastline. So the most important point is that they are not regularly breeding in those islands. Some years they are breeding and some years they are not breeding. This is the main disadvantage for us. Maybe not for the bird, but for us it's a big challenge. Because each time you are going to those islands, you see nothing, and they are changing their breeding location, and you are searching again new islands, new places, if they are breeding or not. Then, I'm sorry, we have I have the recently found breeding island, Kaskiko Island. We have 30 breeding pairs there exactly. So they are very widespread breeding throughout Turkey, Mediterranean, and Aegean coast. Come on. Okay. As a summary of the breeding information, they are at least breeding in 9 different sizes in Turkey. And the current estimated breeding population is on the range between 90 pairs to 170 pairs. But to my information, to my experience, I would say that actually the total number of breeding population is much larger than this and should be on the range of 200 to 300 breeding pairs. And to my knowledge, they are not breeding in dense colonies. They are forming very spread out colonies, and they are using very different varying locations ranging from sea level to the 20-30 meters far above the sea level, and they prefer to breed over in low vegetation conditions, especially among boulders and cavities, most probably due to avoid from predating other birds, especially yellow-legged gulls. And maybe they also use those sheltering caves to protect from excessive heat sources. I have no idea. I'm just making a comment. So let's talk about... Can you go? Yep. Go back, please. Yeah. Let's talk about storm petrels. Let's first of all summarize the existing information. We know that the storm petrels have a large breeding population in the Atlantic part of European continent, and it's about 500,000 breeding pairs. But we know that we have a small breeding population in the Mediterranean, mainly located in Malta, Spain, and Italy, and France, Greece have some small breeding populations. But recently, 2 scientists have debated that the Mediterranean subspecies can be a new species, can be a full species. Therefore, it's better to always mention when the Melitensis subspecies name, when we are talking about this species for the richer reference. Because in the future it may be accepted as a full species, therefore we may clean the pelagicus, the species epithet, then we use Hydrobetus melitensis in the future. And as you may see, the species are not breeding in big numbers in the eastern part of Mediterranean, and we have no real information about the Turkey. What we have here in that, in 1972, an ornithologist, Turkish ornithologist, saw one individual in Kaş, Antalya region. And the time that he saw that bird was coinciding during the breeding season. So at that time, ornithologists thought that the species could breed in the vicinity of those islands. Then the same person actually, in the same year, saw another 6 individuals at the Aegean Sea at the same season. So these 2 observations gave us the idea that the species most probably breeding in the region. At that time, actually, we didn't have any information whether they are breeding in Greek islands or not, because the Greek information came later than these dates. Sorry. Then, a few years later, 10 individuals were observed exactly at the same region again. Then 7 individuals observed in 19 1992, again during breeding time. So these observations confirm that the species were present during breeding time at the Aegean coast and Western Mediterranean. Then we started to observe this species in the Mediterranean, much more better way. We were using binoculars, we were using high quality cameras, and then we tried to understand the exact status of this species in Mediterranean. So we then come across with such a huge group. Then it was shocked us. We didn't expect to see such a high numbers of storm petrels, Mediterranean storm petrels in the Med Sea. Then we saw this. So these observations were based on opportunistic observations. So most probably the real population must have been bigger than this. So in this photograph, and we couldn't take the entire group, so just showing just a percentage of the entire group, and it was more than 1,000, maybe 1,500 individuals. Or to be on the safe side, we'd say 1,100 individuals could be accepted as a decent census. So for some reasons, they are in the region, but we don't know their breeding locations very well. So far, we put all the observations into a map to understand where the exact breeding exact locations of observation. So it shows that the species existed in the western part of the eastern Mediterranean part, where we call the Aegean Sea. And the highest concentration occurs around the central Aegean coast, around Didim offshore. It's not working, yeah. Okay, we had that questions. Where are those birds from? The first breeding information actually recorded in 1986 in Greek islands by our beloved Greek ornithologist friends. And then, so far, they designated 6 different IBAs within the Greek territories with a total number of breeding pairs of 90 only. So our pictures are showing 1,100 individuals. This actually is not representing what we have on table. Actually, the breeding population either must be much bigger or the birds are coming from somewhere else. And thanks to many scientists, we know that the foraging trips of this bird is very complicated. The first person that worked on the tracking of Hydropedus pelagicus and indicated that they have a foraging range of about 65 kilometers. According to this information, those birds that we saw during the Aegean Sea must be breeding somewhere around. But then another studies came, and another study indicated that they are foraging up to 600 kilometers from their breeding grounds. Then another studies came, and with contradicting the previous ones, about 400 kilometers with a median distance about 150 kilometers. Then the Pascalis and Roger et al. Came and indicated totally different pictures. Thanks to these precious studies, we have a lot of information. Nevertheless, we are confused. Most probably different populations or different individuals are showing different foraging behaviors, which makes the field trip more complicated. Therefore, we have to do much more studies to understand what is the exact picture. So, we don't know where those birds are from. We don't know. But they are in the Aegean region. And here I provided you a table that showing the time of the observations and the number of individuals. But I should remind you, our observations was based on opportunistic observations. We were not carrying out a regular monitoring activity. When we had money, when we had a boat, we were going out. Therefore, the actual picture most probably might be different than what you see here. But according to what we have here, the species exist during breeding season in Aegean Sea. And we know that this species starts to breed at the beginning of April, at the beginning of April, and the breeding season continues till the end of September. So it has a large breeding range. Therefore, within that range, from April to September, the individuals that we see are definitely breeding in the region. But where? But these numbers are possibly showing a post-breeding distribution that because it was made in October season. But if we enlarge the monitoring zones, if we enlarge the monitoring activities, this information could possibly change. Okay. Can you please go back? Okay, where are those birds from? Again, we don't know. Maybe we can carry down some stable isotope analysis. If we catch some birds, it's an easy way to do it. But for do that, we need some budget and information. We need some contribution. I'm sorry, this is not working. I apologize. For some reasons, I cannot do it. But what we think we know that the number of fish farms has substantially increased in the last 2 decades in the Aegean coast. And if you pay attention to this picture, I'm paying much attention to this picture. This bird is feeding on small prey, not big prey. So, and we think that this fish shows a tendency to be in the vicinity of fish farms, that we have too many in the Aegean Sea, and from starting to south and extending to the north, we have hundreds of them. So probably fish farms may trigger that concentration number. Yep. And let's talk about a little bit about fishing in Turkey. We have at least 71 different commercial fish that are being caught in Turkey. And the data shows us that the total number of fish production shows a substantial increase within the 20 years, about from 600 to almost 900,000 of tons. While on the other hand, if you pay attention to the yellow line shows the fishery farms. The larger contribution is coming from the fishing farms, not from the sea. If you pay attention to the blue line, at least 150,000 tons of fish disappeared within the 20-year-long period of time. Why? If you pay attention to the same thing, the fisheries in Turkey, commercial fisheries, are catching those fish species, and almost 60% to 90% of those fish are sardine-like fish species, a small prey. So, while on the other hand, fishing farms are providing maybe good opportunity for some birds, it's creating a substantial disaster for other birds. So we have to take consideration into this fact. So we are depleting the, if you pay attention to this one, from 400 tons to 300 tons, we lost at least 100 tons of fish within 15 years. Next slide, please. Yep. And so far, the total number of persons commercial fishing is about 135,000, with about 20,000 officially recorded fishing boats. Go ahead, please. And out of 20,000 fishing boats, 700 of them are trawlers, 500 of them purse seiners, and 350 of them approximately is about trawlers and purse seiners. So it makes a total of 1,500 fishing boats that are draining the fish out of sea. So this picture shows, go ahead please, about 300 of them is bigger than 30 meters, and 460 of them bigger than between 20 to 30 meters, and about 900 of them is on the range between 12 to 20 meter long fishing vessels. So this is a main threat. Depletion of fish stocks due to overfishing by trawlers and purse seiners. We have to do something. We need those fish for the survival of humankind as well, not for the birds. Therefore, we have to find a stable regulation. and application of regulation. Then also, we have a big problem about marine pollution, intensive fish farming activities. Go ahead, please. Intensive fish farming activities, they are, go back please, I apologize. And they are creating intensive pollution while they're feeding those fish in the fish farms. We have also a problem due to the wastewater discharges from cities, organic and inorganic polluted waters coming from agriculture, and also creating a lot of microplastics. We have the biggest problem of climate change, and climate change is introducing some invasive species, anoxic waters. We have irregular anoxic waters in Mediterranean coast. There is no oxygen zones we have in Mediterranean coast of Turkey because of increasing temperature, because of changing ecology of the water. And also increasing pH levels are causing significant changes in the biotope inside the water. And urbanization and tourism. Go ahead, my last slide. And although storm petrel, Mediterranean storm petrel seems to gain a slight benefit of existence of fish farms, they create substantial amount of pollution, and they are using antibiotics, heavy metal, and other stuff. So, Aquatic Jimenez criticized that they gain negative more than positive. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Ortak, for this presentation. I'm afraid, Ortak, you consume most of the time, so we don't have time for questions. We will move to the next, but we will have time to meet Ortak on the coffee break and ask him any questions you may have. Let me invite Mr. Fouad Itani from Lebanon, who will present to us a national assessment of maritime and coastal bird species of Lebanon. Please.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Fouad Itani. I'm the founder and president of the Association for Bird Conservation in Lebanon. I'm glad and honored to be among you all today and happy to meet you. The Association for Bird Conservation in Lebanon, with funds from the Green Grant Funds, is currently carrying an ongoing study about the maritime species found and maritime and coastal species found along the coast of Lebanon and the sea, the Mediterranean Sea. So, as you know, Lebanon lies on on a major flyway, the Eastern Mediterranean flyway. This means a big number of species and birds and their species, they either winter or pass through Lebanon every year. And unlike Turkey, our coastline is only 240 kilometers. So it's somehow easy for us to do the study on a given period of time. However, this small coastline is facing pressures from high population density and economic activities. Our team is composed of Shadi Andari and Samir Halwani, they're field recorders, and Madame Julie Lebnan, she's also the project coordinator, and myself. The project took the 4 seasons of last year, and it's still ongoing with an extension to continue during winter and spring of 2024. The coastal region of Lebanon features a rocky terrain in the north and a sandy terrain in the south, and some islands off Tripoli. It's a biodiversity hotspot under threat from pollution, illegal hunting, global warming, habitat destruction, and habitat loss as well. So our objectives in this project are to establish a comprehensive avian baseline for the species, for the coastal species, especially those found and listed in the Annex 2 of the Barcelona Convention. We will also try to assess all the threats that are facing those species and their habitats as well. We tried and we are still working on engaging all the local communities in those conservation efforts, because without them, it will be almost impossible to solve all those problems. So the methodology used, we started with an initial literature review, and then we used the point count method during breeding season. We used also the boat count method, transact, and the vantage point methods. I'm sure most of you are aware of those methods. We also selected 23 coastal and marine zones based on their ecological significance. And we involved local communities for data collection and insight gathering. And we did many workshops in many parts of Lebanon to educate people and to engage them and to get their help also, and to show them the ecological and economic significance of the birds found along those coastal areas. Out of the 25 seabirds listed in the Annex 2 of the Barcelona Convention, we were able to identify during 2023 18 species. And one more species was identified by our friend Michel Sawan. It's a European shag, and it was recorded for the first time last year in Lebanon. The results, well, we had a lot of changes at the status of our species. For example, if we take the spotted redshank, in the past it used to be recorded as a passage migrant only, but in 2023 we were able to record it twice as a non-breeder summer visitor to Lebanon, in the Palm Islands and in Sidon. If we look to the slender-billed gull, to the Hughlin's gull, to the Caspian gull, and to the Eurasian spoonbills, the quantities were reported as scarce or rare. However, during last year and the past year as well, we found that their numbers are uncommon to common sometimes. The Adwan's gull, for example, it used to breed in Lebanon it's a former breeder back in 1895. Stanthouse in 1904, he mentioned that. And it was up to last year only that Dr. Ghassan Jaradi was able to record it as a non-breeder and a possible breeder in the Palm Islands, but without proof of breeding. So the main breeder in that island is the yellow-legged gull, and perhaps this is one of the issues that this species might be facing, and putting some obstacle for it to breed there as well. Many threats were identified, like pollution, like fire, like the fire we had in the Palm Islands, like the common myna bird, which is an invasive species, attacking everything they can, from eggs to small birds to reptiles, everything found in the fauna. And as well as some rodents, like rats, found in the Palm Islands that are attacking breeding birds like the yellow-legged gull, chicks, or eggs. So what we highlighted is the need of ongoing monitoring for marine and coastal species to support those efforts, and highlighted some species that are found to be also more common in Lebanon, like the Mediterranean and the Armenian gulls, and the Scopolis shearwater. And Dr. Ghassan as well, last year, we found the unprecedented behavior, like the consumption of the meat of the yellow-legged gull and other gulls, and this is probably due to the ongoing economic situation in the country. So our recommendations are to promote research through international funding. Just like Luke said before me, fundings are essential to try and study and to know the threats that those species are facing, and to try to do some action plans to help and protect those species as well. The production of a field guidebook for the Mediterranean seabirds will prove to be very essential for local communities and for researchers as well. And to focus on monitoring procedure forms and regulating invasive species like the common myna, especially in areas like the Tier Coast Nature Reserves and other places as well, since this bird is having a very large range expansion in the country. So for future research directions, there's a need for research on seabird breeding distribution, their migratory patterns, and their wintering grounds as well, especially for the Adwin's gull that I forgot to mention, that was recorded by us also last year as a winterer in Lebanon, while previously it was recorded only as a passage migrant. We also would like to highlight the evaluation of marine ecosystem, the prey species, and the impacts of pollutants and predators in the near future, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good timing. 8 minutes. We still have about 5 minutes for Q&A. If you have any questions for the speaker. Do you want to know more about Lebanese food? Ah, okay. Nicola. Yes.
Just a small comment. I think that what is interesting in hearing these reports from different parts of the Mediterranean is that you don't always deal with the same species that we are used to. When you speak of your country, which is relatively small, but in an extreme position, and you speak about Huglin's gull and Armenian gull, I think this gives to these regions one reason of importance more, because in the rest of the Mediterranean you don't get those species.
Well, to be frank also, maybe I missed to talk a bit about the background of the country. A country where out of 6 million Lebanese, we have 500,000 hunters. And maybe a handful of bird watchers. The lack of bird watchers in the past didn't give us the real data of the species that were found in Lebanon. Lebanon, with its rich diversity and habitats, different habitats, I mean, it can attract different species. So out of the 420 species, approximately, we've recorded during this study 87 species, coming around 21% of the total species of the country. And most of the 16 species that were recorded in the past 13 years are all new and are all, discovered by new bird watchers or by Dr. Ghassan or by expats coming to the country and doing some bird watching. So hopefully, this small part of the world, a tiny country, and I think other countries like Syria, maybe up in the north, which is also not birded a lot because of the ongoing war or the situation there, will in the future show us more rarities and more species that were not considered regular or common in this part of the world. Thank you. Yes, Ali.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Jelena, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation and for your data. I would like to invite you to share your data about spoonbill with Eurasian expert group, which is very active here in Mediterranean, especially in Tunisia. As far as I remember, we never got any data from a country, and it will be very important to have them next meeting we will have in a year and a half.
Great.
And if you can provide the data about
we'll
wintering or passage, it will be very, very important.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think in a country with the 500,000 hunters and a few bird watchers, we need to really appreciate the job done through the past maybe 30, 40 years by Dr. Jaradi and his team. And we are seeing now a new generation of bird conservationists coming up. So thank you very much for your efforts, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, if there's no more questions.
Mr. Ali has one question. Dr. Ali?
Mr. Ali, Lebanon, you always came in your country. I mean, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for the love first.
Go ahead, Ali.
So my colleague Fuad mentioned an important thing. It's not like any comment or any question. It's a kind of alert coming from a marine protected area, just to let you know that there is a big problem related with the common myna. I don't know other countries if they have a problem, but this kind of species we should find a solution. So here we have bird scientists, maybe to give us some guidelines, protocol to eradicate this kind of species, because it become very dangerous in our MPA, in our country, I think. And Dr. Ghassan is here, so he can propose a lot of things, and we are working on it. So it's not easy at all. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Abdul Mullah.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you. Ortak, we have a comment?
Now for him it's okay.
Yes,
for me, no.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I have a question. Thank you for giving me a chance to. During your presentation, I see the picture of a common myna, and I realized that you have some kind of strategy and or activity in regulating the population. What is your experience about common myna? It's an invasive species in Turkey, and it's mainly living in city parks and gardens. For the moment, people perceive that species as a kind of contribution to the biodiversity, but when they will see that species feeding on a maize, that will change the story. What is your experience?
Well, back in 2003, I moved to live for a bit in the UAE, in Dubai. And this is the first time where I really saw and understood what this bird is capable of. This is a bird that might be found in the Himalayas with a temperature of -5 degrees sometimes, and in the Gulf countries with a temperature of 50, 60 plus degrees. So it's very, very, very resilient. And I've seen it capturing from inside the cavities of the Gulf trees in the UAE, the chicks of the rose-ringed parakeets, and the pellet scops owl as well. And this is just to give you an idea of what this bird is capable of. It can also attack other reptiles, other beneficial, maybe perhaps birds. It's one of the 10 most invasive species, I believe, in the world. So putting a strategy for this bird, I think Dr. Ghassan here might be able to answer this question. But I've seen in the UAE some traps being used to eradicate this bird. However, those traps are also taking their way some other species that might be also considered as invasive, like the house crow or the red-vented bulbul or the white-cheeked bulbul as well. Dr. Ghassan?
Thank you. Very briefly.
Thank you very much. The myna is a big problem. Everybody knows about it. And it is working like a cuckoo when watching where it will put its eggs. And for the myna, will not put eggs, will eat eggs, and will eat chicks. It's doing this not only for terrestrial birds, but also for coastal birds, especially plovers. And they are educating them, really educating them. So the strategy is to use a method which is a merciful method to get rid of them. And from my own experience in the past, which I used it successfully, is to use what we call chloralose powder. We sprinkle it on food, and we put it, the bird will sleep only for 8 hours, no more. And after 8 hours, he will wake up. So we have to collect them before they wake up. Put them in cartons to be quiet with holes. And after that, to send them to their native country. If they don't accept, we have to kill them by injections, so euthanasia. So in this case, we can rid of them. I informed our friends in the Gulf to do this. In some countries, they follow it and it is successful. In other countries, are usually using the traditional method, which is shooting with gun of one air gun.
Air rifle.
Yeah. And it is working, but it is like the questions of rabbits. You kill, and the rabbits are breeding again, and it is ongoing operation. So it's better to use alpha-chloralose. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jaladi. It's an emerging issue of this myna coming all the way from the Levanten basin of the Mediterranean, and we are sure that we will see more data on it coming. Let me go with you to Egypt with Mohammed Habib, who will talk to us about the status of breeding seabirds in the Mediterranean coast of Egypt from 2012 to 2022. So Habib, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mohammed Habib from Egypt. I will give a talk about the status of breeding seabirds on the Mediterranean coast of Egypt from 2014 till 2023. This means that I need to brief you in 10 minutes, 12 minutes for my 10 years work. Egypt is located at the northeast corner of Africa and southwest corner of Asia by the land bridge formed by Sinai Peninsula. My study area is at the north coast, east of Delta till El Arish, and Red Sea coast, plus the part of the Lake Nasser close to the Sudanese border. My findings, 3 species in a black, cylinder bill gull, greater flamingo, Kentish plover, is a common breeder in Egypt, but I found new discovered colony. And 5 species in white, yellow-legged gull, common gull-bill tern, sandwich tern, common tern, greater sand plover is new breeding records for Egypt. And 1 species in yellow is a new species for the science, which is the Levant little tern. Let's start with the cylinder bill gulls. In 2014, I found the biggest colony for Egypt, which was 2,875 active nests were counted in Lake Karun, which is south of Cairo. And later on, I found 12,250 colony nests at the north coast of Egypt. The estimation of the 2 population combined is 15,125 pairs, which represent 32% from the Mediterranean and Black Sea population. Yellow-legged gull. In 2016, I found 16 empty nests, and total population was 15 individuals, including juvenile and adults. Sandwich tern, 2017, I found 950 active nests were counted at the north coast of Egypt, and the Egyptian population representing 5.8% of the Mediterranean population, which is about 6,000 pairs at this time. At the bottom, you will find the references, my personal references for each species. Gull-bill tern in 2014, 2 nests recorded at Lake Karun, and this was the first record for Egypt, which is south of Cairo. And in 2017, I found 12 occupied nests at the east of Port-Said city at the Mediterranean coast. Common tern, 2015, I found the first 272 occupied nests at the west of Port-Said city. And 2017, I found another colony in the east part of Port-Said, which was 400 occupied nests. The Levant little tern. Let's go back to the history of my study, little tern. It started in 2008, where I found the first breeding colony at the north coast of Egypt. In those days, until 2016, I found the total is 3,935 nests, which is counted in the north coast of Egypt, which represent 60% of the Black Sea and Mediterranean breeding population. Till 2016, close to the Sudanese border, I found the common European tern. So I was thinking, which species I was studying since 2008. Then I post this information in the OSMI or Sand Grouse magazine, and then I get a feedback from a Dutch researcher, Vance Wolm, and he told me, Muhammad, no, this is not the European species which I used to study. So we start together to collect the parameters, and collecting 4 samples, send it to Aberdeen DNA laboratories, and he was liaising and coordinate between the researchers in the Mediterranean Sea. And because of the corona viruses, I did not get any feedback from him. Till 2022, he emailed me, said, Muhammad, it is a new subspecies. And we published this papers in British Bird. So please, when you survey the Mediterranean, if you work in a little tern, try to pay your attention if it's a common European little tern or Levant little tern. And you are welcome to contact me anytime for any help. And this is an odd or strange behavior from the Levant tern. The parents dipping their belly in a freshwater pond, going back directly to the nest. And if you look carefully, the chicks is drinking from the feathers, same like the sand grouse in the desert, same technique. And this is not the behavior for the European common tern. European little tern. Greater sand plover in June 2019, 1 pair of greater sand plover recorded breeding in the north coast of Egypt. And Kentish plover in 2018, over 700 breeding birds recorded north coast of Egypt, Red Sea coast, and Sinai Peninsula together. Lesser crested tern in 2022, over 4,650 breeding birds recorded at the Red Sea Islands. Lesser crested tern is only breeding at Red Sea. I never see it breeding in the Mediterranean coast. Greater Flamingo in 2014, I record 15 breeding bears at the middle of Lake Nasser. And here is the parent with 2 fledgling. The main threats in Egypt to the breeding population are human disturbance and natural predation. Human disturbance, including seabirds facing disturbance during the breeding season, such as fishermen walking and driving cars through the breeding colonies, people collecting eggs and chicks, which are not yet able to fly, urban development such as building Corniche Road and new resorts. Natural predation, native foxes, feral dogs, common kestrel that could eat eggs and fledgling chicks before they are able to fly. The recommendation, the area of breeding colony at the East Nile Delta of the north coast of Egypt should be added to the directory of the important birds area in Egypt, as this area meets the criteria of A43 of BirdLife. I hope that the RACSPA can fund my next survey of the West Nile Delta at the north coast of Egypt, because all of the previous survey is done from my personal fund. And further research is needed to map the breeding distribution of Levant little tern in Lebanon, especially in Lebanon, because Mr. Fuad, I seen Levant little tern in your and was the middle in your photo. Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. And in the end, many thanks go to RACSPA, L'Oiseau, Les Amis d'Oiseau for support, and Tunisia Embassy in Cairo, especially the guard, and the counselor for really helping me in generous hospitality and support. And in the end, thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Very good timing, 10 minutes. We still have 5 minutes for questions, and we are in front of somebody who's funding his own work. Very great work Mohammed is doing in Egypt.
Thank you.
Since the time of mining and Bahauddin, I think there is nothing done for seabirds since the early 80s and 90s. And you are now activating the north coast of the Mediterranean. Very congratulations for your work. And I'm sure many have questions about what you are doing. And congratulations for the new subspecies of the little terns.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please, we have 5 minutes for questions, almost 4 minutes. So please, Sidi Ahmed, yeah.
Very much for your presentation, Habib. Very interesting. I'm just wondering, out of the genetic aspects and the behavior of the little tern, how can we really distinguish between the two subspecies? Is it possible morphologically?
Morphologically, okay. By the way, my presentation was 87 slides. And when I received email from Mr. Hisham, say that it should be not more than 12. Yeah. But actually, my presentation is 19. So anyhow, if I give the full presentation, I have some slides. You can show you the difference and all of this information. But anyhow, briefly, and my recommendation for anybody working with surveying any kind of birds, you need to hear the call. Mm. This is why this reason, because when I found the Sonder tern breeding in Egypt in 2012, flying and on the ground almost the same for any person. But the sound, any person can, oh, this is not the little tern. So it should be another tern. So number one is a call. This one is like a horse call. It's like, is a little bit.
Have you recorded and uploaded to some online Xanthophobos database or something? Yeah, you should do, I think.
Okay, this is number one. Number two is the plumage. The common, the European little tern, more feather, more light gray. But this one, it's bluish gray, so it's a dark morph. You can say it's a dark morph from the little tern. And the primaries is 3-4 dark primaries. So it's completely different than the European tern, little tern.
Thank you. Say Mustafa Maraha from Morocco, please.
So thank you, Mr. Mohammed, for your interesting presentation.
Thank you.
I have a comment about the map you presented on your first slide. I invite you to use the new map of the UN, which is recent. So I think the map you presented is a little bit old.
Okay.
Okay.
So I will give you my card, and please, if you can email it to me, I really appreciate it. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So if there is no more questions for Mohammed Habib, I'd like to thank him on behalf of you and invite the
Thank
next
you.
speaker, Samar Kilani from Tunisia, RAXPA, and she will talk about advancing Mediterranean seabird conservation, a collaborative approach and integrated monitoring initiatives. Please, Samar.
Hello, and welcome everyone. It's nice to see very familiar faces and friendly faces in this nice venue in Jerba. I am Samar Kilani. I'm part of the SPARAC team, mainly working on the ecosystem approach. But also I'm an ornithologist, and in another parallel life, I'm very honored and happy that I was once part of the AO BirdLife in Tunisia, and then that I learned the ABCs of ornithology from Hisham and Claudia and Hedi Isa. Today I'll be speaking about the ecosystem approach. The ecosystem approach and IMAP as a regional initiative to promote the monitoring of seabirds. It's not going. Which one? They're both big. So I will start with a quick overview of ecosystem approach, then I will move on to seabirds case, and then I will give the floor to my colleague Ali Berbesh to present us a case study of Libya. So ecosystem approach, this, I'm very low IT, I think. Help? Okay. It's not working. Sorry for this. Yes. Ah, ok. Donc apparemment le pointeur, it works better from this side. Sorry. So ecosystem approach, in its larger concept, it's about supporting and creating this link and equilibrium between human activities and the protection of our planet Earth, simply. But in the ecosystem, in the IMAP and the Barcelona Convention context, the common vision for it is to create this to support healthy Mediterranean with marine and coastal ecosystems that are productive and biologically diverse, contributing to the sustainable development for the benefit of us now and for our future generations. So the overall objective will be to achieve the good environmental status, also known as GES. Since 2008, the contracting parties of Barcelona Convention agreed on a roadmap to implement this ecosystem approach, starting with ecological objectives and indicators identification, later on moving to definition of GES and targets, and then collecting all this information into one document, which is the Integrated Monitoring and Assessment Program, which led us to the production of the first ever quality status report in 2017. As this report is a 6-yearly report, later on in 2023, lately, we have also delivered the 2023 MED QSR, already presented by my colleague Ben here in starting this session. So moving on to Integrated Monitoring and Assessment Program, known as IMAP. All the ecological objectives and common indicators agreed on in the roadmap of ecosystem approach are all present in this document, which is available online. You can scan the QR. And it's also available in 3 languages, Arabic, French, and English. So, this is too colorful, too many information, but let me explain. IMAP is based on ecological objectives. So we have 11 ecological objectives. Most of them are already elaborated and have common indicators. But some are also still developing, like the ecological objective number 6 and number 4 on food web. Where seabirds come inside of all of this. If we zoom in into the biodiversity and the non-indigenous species cluster, we find it under the EU1, ecological objective number 1, and the common indicators 3, 4, and 5 to assess seabirds' state in the Mediterranean. So, to make this assessment, to know how our birds are doing in the Mediterranean, we need to set common indicators. We have 3 of them: species distributional range, common indicator 3, 4 species population abundance, and 5 population demographic characteristics. For each one of these common indicators, we identified targets, definition, just definition. Don't worry, I will not read any of that. It's all available also on this QR code. After identifying the indicators, we also need to identify indicator species, which are already presented by my colleague Ben. So to recall how we selected this indicator species, so there are 11, and they are part of the 25 list of species under the Annex 2 of the SPABID protocol. Also, out of this 25 list, we selected 11 based on consultation with the online working groups that we held during the last biennium. At this point, I would like to thank the consultants and the regional experts and national experts that were there present in this online working group. Ben here also, who worked hard on this. But also I have a special thank for our colleague Asma Yahyawi. I don't see her. Asma. So this is a very special thank for her because she and Mahdi Isi also, he's not in the room. They are the previous team who worked on the ecosystem approach and who prepared all the road along for us, me and Yassine, by the way, because we're the new team working on ECAP, to continue working on this and to deliver the 2023 MED QSR. So enough definitions. Let's move to practicalities. How these seabirds are assessed in the Mediterranean with support of SPARAC. So SPARAC has been supporting the implementation of the ecosystem approach and IMAP in general for the biodiversity cluster mostly for the contracting parties with support of projects, because we need funds to do most of this work. I recall here the already closed projects, ECAP MED 3, 2 and 1 before that, IMAP MPA, marine litter. I think many of you already worked with us on these projects. And I would like to announce that new projects are on the way and will start very soon with the same idea, the same approach of continuing to support countries in implementing their national integrated assessment and monitoring program. In here, I will present very shortly the work done during the 2-3 years ago with support of these EU-funded projects, IMAP MPA and ECAP mainly. So national IMAP implementation was done in 7 contracting parties. Over 30 sites along the Mediterranean were prospected, including at least 1 MPA and 1 under pressure site, following the recommendation of IMAP. The methodology used, of course, is based on the 11 species, indicator species, but not only that, because teams are there in field and they are collecting all the possible data, focusing first on the 11 list of species, then on the 25 species in the Annex 2, but also any other species that we can record and that can give an idea on what species are there and what are the most important species for each country. Because we, maybe Fouad here, he presented in Lebanon the work done, but one of the main conclusions was that they need to work on an extended and larger list of species that are more important for that country. So each of the contracting party, they developed their national monitoring plan based on the national IMAP programs that were already prepared in 2017, and in coherence with the monitoring protocols for IMAP common indicators. Especially the section, of course, the guidelines on monitoring seabirds in the Mediterranean. This monitoring protocol include a variety of methods that could be used and that all IMAP approved. So each of the contacting parties chose and selected between of these between all these approaches, the most suitable for their context and their ecosystem. All the data collected was later on put into data dictionaries and data standards that were prepared by the InfoRac previously and reported to the IMAP info system. This data is available online on this website. So rather than, I only have 5 minutes to continue, so rather than giving you some random numbers and information on the work done by each of the contracting parties, I would like first to call on the names of people who worked with us in these projects, especially now for seabirds. I will start with Ali Badruddin. Sorry. This is why I wrote them. So Admir Aldous, I think he's following us online. Mr. Nibeni from Morocco, he was part of the team working on the seabirds. In Lebanon, Dr. Ghassan Jaradi and Dr. Fouad. Dr. Mohammed Said for Egypt. You can also see the poster he prepared on all this work later on. Dr. Ali Berbesh, he's with us now. And also in Tunisia, the work was done by Mohamed Ali Shokri. He's not with us today, but also with the cooperation with the APAL team. Thank you all. Thank you for the nice work, the cooperation, and I look forward to continue working on this later on our new projects. I will give some minutes to Ali Berbesh now to give us a case study of Libya on how this work was done, especially there.
Thank you very much, Samar. Hi everyone, I'm Ali Berbash, Head of Protected Area Section in Ministry of Environment, Libya. Okay, I know, Abmal, I have just only 5 minutes, but I will try to hurry up, okay? Yes, yes. Yes, the program starts with the 4 sites. We select 4 sites. Two of them are MBA, and other 2 is under human pressures. Two in the east side, 1 in the middle, and the last one in the 2 in west side, and the 4th one in the east side. Where? Okay. The first site was Farwa Lagoon. I have to mention that the work has 2 phases. The first one was the counting all the birds during the wintering survey. So it's collaboration with the Libyan team of wintering bird survey was Environment of Ministry and LSP, Libyan Society of Birds. So we count all the sites during the wintering survey where we can reach the peak of the number of the birds in Libya. So in Farwa Lagoon, we count 25 species. We record mostly wintering, total bird 13,000. No breeding of target species, but there's other species like a commentator was 10 breeding in the Farwa Lagoon. And I also have to mention that the period of time of the project was too short because of the pandemic of Corona. So we started working from January till the late of May. So our data is still missing all the breeding season. We just reached the starting of the breeding season for some birds. The second place is Tripoli Coast, which is under the human pressure because they're more, the study area contain more than 5, let me say, 2 main marine port and more than 7 fish port in the study area. We count 15 species, no, also mostly wintering and no breeding in this area. The third one, it's the third place. Where's the third place? Okay, I memorized it. The third place is Gara Island, which is the main island in Libya for the breeding of lizard-crested tern. And we count two birds breeding in the Gara Island, Mediterranean shag, and also the lizard-crested tern. The breeding of shag is different from the Ain al-Ghazala in the Barda Island, because in the Gara they are breeding on the surface, directly on the ground. But here, as you see in the pictures, they are breeding in the cliffs, so there's a difference between them. And also they occupied by breeding for the shag and the lizard-crested tern. I don't know, but we just see they are taking the east part of the land, of the island. So they are breeding mainly in the east part, front of the sea. But for the cluster tern, you can say they occupied all the island. It's the same positions here as you see in the map. Mainly they are breeding in this side from the island, which is the same position in the Gara Island. So both of them are somehow to the east side. And the fourth site is Ain al-Ghazala. Ain al-Ghazala has 4 islands, and it's MBA. We count more than 20 species, founded mostly wintering, and we count also 66 nests of the shag. By the total number is 170. And after we finish this program, and I am also participating in the lizard-crested tern ringing program. So we didn't find the lizard-crested tern breeding in Ain al-Ghazala. Our conclusions will say we understand that each site has own characters, so every site has its own characters, and the variety of species present there, whatever the terms of the total number of the bird or species of nesting. Algara Island, which is still considered as one of the most important Libyan islands and is in a good environment condition. The number of lizard-crested tern is the same. There's no big difference about the previous year. The island of Ain al-Ghazala, MBA needs seasonal study, more study to know exactly what the bird species is likely to nest there. So during all the seasons. And also we understand that the Libyan need of bird nesting action plan, because we don't have action plan especially for the nesting. We need maybe more study during the breeding season. The study, as I mentioned, this period was not sufficient to identify all the nesting species because we end our study in the middle of May. Increase about awareness about poaching birds and their habitat. And we see also we still have the illegal hunting. It's remain the main threat-facing bird study area, and also during the wintering survey, we can say it's still the main threat facing the bird in all Mediterranean Libyan area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ali. I think if you have questions for Ali, you can meet him later in the coffee break because we run out of time. We need to go to west of Tunisia, to Algeria, with Riyad Moulay. We want to know the recent status and distribution of breeding seabirds in coastal Algeria, coastal area in Algeria. I know Riyad on Facebook, first time I see him. So welcome to. Thank you, Riyad. Okay.
I want to tell you about the recent data on the status and distribution of breeding seabirds and coastal birds in Algeria. First, what about Algerian coast? The Algerian coastline stretch for more than 2,000 kilometers and is characterized by succession of cliffs, rocky areas, and beaches of sand pebbles or mixed beach. It should be noted that the rocky facies seem to be fairly dominant. There are also a number of coves, small wadi mouths, coastal wetlands, and islands. There are nearly 70 islands and islets in Algeria. The vast majority are small, no more than 1 hectare in size, with little separation from the mainland, most less than 1 kilometer. Our largest islands are on the west coast, with Reshgun Island, covering 25 hectares, and the Habib's Archipelago, covering 40 hectares. Donc not the great islands. There are 9 seabirds, coastal and island raptors breeding in Algeria. For example, Calonectris borealis or Diomedea, Odwin gulls, yellow-legged gulls, crested cormorant, Charadrius ou Anarhynchus alexandrinus, Stanula albifrons, Charadrius dubius, Falco elonore, and osprey. First start with breeding, birds breeding in Algerian beach. It's breeding This species is breeding on virtually all sandy and pebble beaches in Algeria, with average of one between 1,500 meters or 1 kilometer of beach. Charadrius dubius, the little Regan plover. This species, common nester on beaches near Wadi, moths and coastal wetlands, often nest in sympatry with the Kentish plover. Unfortunately, Ster nulla albifrons. Unfortunately, a single national colony has been recorded on the beach of Sidi Salem in Annaba, in the extreme east of the Algerian coastline. Reproduction is fairly irregular from year to year. Falco Eleonore, we can find 500 pairs, more than 500 pairs, in two separate colonies. The eastern colonies with 239 pairs, and the western colonies with 206 pairs. The two largest colonies in the eastern sector are Kaf Amour Islands or Saint-Piastre Island with 100 pairs. In the western sectors, Habibas Archipelago contains 200 to 134 pairs. The osprey, for the osprey, only 2 pairs was recorded on the entire Algerian coast. A breeding pair on the cliffs between Annaba and Skikda on the eastern sector, and a pair on the Habibas Island. Unfortunately, this pair was not seen again during our mission last May. For seabirds, crested cormorant or Gulosus aristotelis, breeder in small numbers in various places on the Algerian coast, between 1 and 3 pairs on cliffs on islands. The largest gathering on breeding pairs was observed on the Habibas Island. Je reviens un petit peu en arrière. The largest gathering of breeding pairs was observed on the Habibas Island with 11 pairs in last May, like the recent data. Cory shearwater, Calottis borealis, or Diomedea, breeding in small numbers. This species is breeding in small numbers on 3 islands in the eastern sector, with a total of at least 50 pairs. Our largest colony are in the western sector with more than 500 pairs on the Habiba Island and 100 pairs on Reshgun Island near Habibas Island. On the Habibas Island, breeding success seems to be threatened by the black rats. My favorite seabirds, because it's a representative success story, yellow-legged girl. This seabird, the most widespread seabird in Algeria. Breeding numbers have risen from 2,500 pairs in 1978 to several thousand pairs today. Most Algeria coastal towns have been colonized. Unfortunately, the largest colony are to be found in the western sector on Reshgun Island with more than 5,000 pairs, and the Habiba Islands with 3,500 pairs. Rarely species in Algeria, Audouin's ghoul. Unfortunately, there is only one remaining colony in Algeria on the Habibas Island, the recent data. Previously, 8 colonies has been found In last May, we counted only 75 pairs. Breeding numbers on the Habibas Island fluctuates widely, year by year. The first trait of the Algerian Odwin girls is the yellow-legged girls. This is a map of Habibas Island, the great island in Algeria. The three small colonies at Habibas appear to be under threat from the yellow-legged girl. Mapping of the nest of the two species shows that Odwin's girl, in the red colony, are confined to the margin on the margin of the yellow girl colonies. The later species, donc yellow-legged girls, which nest yellow leaves, little free spaces for the Odwin's girls. In conclusion, for biogeographical interest of Algeria's seabirds heritage, in the conclusion for the Algerian coastline, we can propose two important for breeding seabirds. ESB. First ESB is located in the western sector between city of Oran and Hunayn, including the island of Plain, Ronda, Habibas, Rashgun, and Moqram in the extreme west, with a nesting for 5 species of high heritage value. The second zone is located between Cap de Fer, Annaba, in the Annaba, and the town of Kolo, including the island of Cap de Fer, Kaf Amor, Siriginia, and Rahbat al-Tafah, with nesting of 3 species of heritage value. And thank you very much for your attention.
All right. Thank you, Riyad. Algeria is a very beautiful country, and we had a very good update on many colonies of seabirds. So we still have time for questions to Riyad. We have 6 minutes. So Isham, please.
Thank you, Riyad, for the presentation. According to what you said about the yellow-legged gull, did you see other impact in the other species? I see in your presentation the impact of yellow-legged gull, but if they have impact from yellow-legged gull to the other species than the Odwin gull.
Bon, donc je vais vous répondre en français, si vous permettez. Bon, pour l'impact du goéland le coffet sur d'autres espèces d'oiseaux marins, pour l'instant, l'impact palpable sur terrain, pardon, je m'excuse, donc l'impact, the real impact sur terrain, on l'a observé seulement vis-à-vis du Odwin's Girls. Sur le puffin cendré, c'est autre chose qui rentre en jeu. Par exemple, les rats noirs. Donc, il y a peu d'impact du goéland le coffet, par exemple, sur le puffin cendré, qui n'ont pas presque la même écologie, ni la même période de vie en milieu insulaire. Par exemple, pour les crested cormorants, donc là aussi, ils sont tellement peu nombreux qu'on n'a pas apprécié d'impact du goéland le coffet sur ces espèces-là. Qu'est-ce qui reste comme espèce à haute valeur patrimoniale? C'est tout. Hein. Les autres, c'est des oiseaux côtiers. Donc sur les rapaces, aucun effet. Sur les rapaces tels que comme on l'appelle déjà, le faucon Éléonore, Orion Falcon, Osprey, pas d'effet noté. On a beaucoup plus vu l'effet sur l'écosystème insulaire, qui a été vraiment perturbé par le grand nombre d'écosystèmes insulaires, y compris la végétation, le sol, la physiologie des plantes, des milieux insulaires. Ça a été impacté de façon énorme par les grandes colonies, hein, par the yellow-legged gull. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hamza.
So
Hamza.
Riyad was
Hello.
saying that we have seen only
Hamza.
impact from yellow-legged gull, and because of the differences in time of breeding, and we haven't
Dr.
seen
Heath.
others. So yes. ما شاء الله عندك الميكرو.
Okay, thank you. Okay, my name is Fawzi Mamour. I'm really interested to the osprey. I was shocked. I thought Algeria is the most important for osprey, but Tunisia is disappeared for 50 years now. I dream to get it back. I'm calling the guys now how to set up the population of osprey. It's used in my home country. We still have the nest, but we don't have the bird. I think now, I thought Algeria is more populated than osprey, but they have two only couples. It's a shame.
In the coastal area, but in Melon, I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about the coast. I don't know in Morocco, but Tunisia disappeared for 50 years. There are a lot of programs to reintroduce the species, and I hope, I'm calling all this committee to think about it and to make crowdfunding to set up or to think to how to restore and to reinstall the osprey, the unique bird in Tunisia. It disappeared. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Fawzi. Yes, please.
My question is more for the ecosystemic approach, because it's just an introduction for, we will have next month in March with PARAC, the international event on marine conservation database and digital transformation. So we are very, very happy to work with SPARAC, since that we have another project which is Iliad, is more for oceanography, and now it turns to MSP, which means that how we can use platforms to use and to deploy all the database that we can have in the Mediterranean on birds or on other elements of the oceanography, because since that we are working on traits like oil spill or other invasive species. So now we are maybe in a new step to have a kind of a board on which we can, because as adaptive management is more, ecosystemic approach is more a concept of adaptive management and how to react to deploy a regional strategy. I think that, for example, the project IMAP projects, the goal of IMAP project is more for this convergence of all the efforts that we have many leaders here, and how we can join together to prevent threats for a better Mediterranean Sea. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a sort of comment, not a direct question to the speaker. So
it's not direct
yeah,
question.
So I'm sure that during these 2 days we will have time to discuss these issues. Lubna?
Yes, thank you. But maybe I can give some feedback in the comment.
But we have a speaker. Should we keep him, the Algerian, on the podium, or ask him to sit down?
No, this information is to be shared with
very,
all.
Very fast.
Yes, yes, yes. So just the idea is that what now is raised by Nibeni, it's in line with what is done through IMAP and ECAP. The idea is to have IMAP info system and to collect and to centralize the data collected on the biodiversity, including species, bird species. So if we will have this IMAP info system completed by the country, by the representative of country, and representative of country will relay with their scientists. So after, as SPARAC, we can how to see, install the bridge with info IMAP system and the other database developed with Iliad project, since we are all also member and partner of this Iliad project. So just to underline this bridge and that SPARAC is ensured to have this bridge between European and other European funded project and other IMAP ecosystem project also. Just
Thank you, thank you. And I think this RACSPA have a double opportunity because you are gaining data from governmental, but also from the scientists today. We have seen a lot of developments in Algeria and Turkey and Lebanon and now and also in Egypt. So I think you have to seize also this second line of data input to the future of IMAP. Any more questions? Yes? Very fast, please. You have the microphone.
What I wanted to ask is about the colony size of Odwin Gull. Do we have previous information about the colony size before, so we can notice if there is an impact of the colony size about the Mechialis, Laus Mechialis, or the Odwin gulls? So that's what I wanted to say, because usually in Algeria, as an Algerian, we don't have enough information about the colony size, the ecological distribution of these species. So I wanted to know if the information are available.
Do we have historic data?
Okay.
Thank you.
Je vais essayer. Bon, for Odwin's gulls, for example, at the Habiba Islands, in addition for the threat posed by the yellow-legged gull, we suspect that the fluctuation in number observed for year to year is linked to an influence to individuals for larger colony located located close to the Habibas Island. We are talking about the Chafarinas Island in the North Africa, and about the Spanish colonies in the Ebro Delta, the biggest colonies. The contribution should be made during the years of overstocking of these two great colonies. That hypothesis can only be confirmed by ringing Odwins, the girls, or by regular ringing readings pour pouvoir régler ce petit problème. D'accord? Je ne sais pas si c'était clair. Merci. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is an opportunity to collaborate between Spain and Algeria to do a ringing program. Intisarius, go ahead.
Thank you for your great data. However, I would like that you pay your attention about the identification of the shear warriors. Is not. I think that it's not a Coris shearwater, Calonectris borealis, but it's the Scopolis shearwater, Calonectris Scopolis shearwater. So Calonectris diomede.
Thank you.
Since it breeds in the Mediterranean Sea, because the Coris shearwater breeds in the Atlantic shore.
Okay, thank you. So with this, please thank Riyadh and all the speakers for this session. I will ask you, before we leave, we have a coffee break, but I will ask you to stretch a little bit because everybody is tired, so please. I see 1% respond. Okay, that's fine. You will stretch with the coffee, that's fine. And shall I ask you, whoever attended the first round of this symposium, the first symposium of seabirds in the Mediterranean? In addition to Lubna. Nicola? Yes, the first one. Hisham, 2, 3. So we have 4 survivors. 5? 5 survivors, okay. 6. And yeah. So we have 6. The second one in Hammamat in 2015. Okay, increasing number. And the third one, of course, everybody have to stretch his hand now. So I put you in stretch anyway. So thank you very much for your attention. I invite you to the coffee break. Thank you. And we will have a Lobna side event.
Not just you are invited, yes, here, yes, invited to the side event about the action plan, which is the framework of this symposium. So just to share with you some information. Okay.
Recording stopped.